Welcome to our deep dive all about this tiny but mighty molecule called glutathione. The one that's like the guardian angel of our cells. And you've given us a ton of research on this one, so let's see what fascinating insights we can uncover.
Yeah, it's really amazing the sheer volume of research on glutathione and all the different roles it plays in the body.
Yeah, and it's found in almost every living thing, too, from fighting those pesky free radicals to getting rid of toxins and even playing a part in, well, how we age. Ready to dive in.
Absolutely, let's do it.
All right, so first things first, what exactly is glutathione?
Well, glutathione, it's a tripeptide, meaning it's made up of 3 amino acids, and those are glutamate, cysteine, and glycine. And even though it's tiny, it's really a powerhouse molecule. It's crucial for all sorts of cellular functions.
It's just incredible that our bodies can actually create this tiny powerhouse, right?
It is. Our bodies synthesize glutathione in 2 steps, each involving a specific enzyme.
Interesting. Okay, so we know what it is and where it comes from, but where does it go and what does it actually do?
So glutathione exists in 2 forms: reduced, which is GSH, and oxidized, GSSG. And the balance between these two, it's kind of like a meter for cellular health.
Oh, interesting. So a healthy balance means our cells are functioning well.
Precisely. One of its main gigs is being an antioxidant. So it neutralizes harmful free radicals, protecting our cells from damage. But it also helps with detoxification, acting like a cleanup crew for the cells.
So it's like a bodyguard and a janitor all in one.
That's a good way to put it. And it also plays a vital role in something called redox balance, which is all about keeping the balance of oxidation and reduction reactions in check within our cells. And that is, well, it's essential for proper cellular function. And beyond that, glutathione is even involved in protein folding, protecting certain proteins from damage, and even regulating the cell cycle.
Wow, that is a lot of responsibility for such a tiny molecule.
It really is.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Research shows that our glutathione levels, they naturally decline as we age.
That's a little concerning, isn't it? Does that explain why we're more susceptible to all those health problems as we get older?
That's what scientists are trying to figure out. This decline in glutathione, it might very well contribute to age-related issues. One research paper even called it a marker and antioxidant for aging.
A marker, huh? Sounds like there's a whole story there. Speaking of stories, one of the sources you shared focused specifically on glutathione in the gastrointestinal tract, and it mentioned that a specific part of our gut has a high concentration of it.
Oh, you mean the duodenum? That's the first part of the small intestine.
Yes, that's it. Why is that area so crucial for glutathione?
Well, the duodenum, it's where most of our digestion and absorption happens. Right, so it's constantly being bombarded by all sorts of things, nutrients, toxins, you name it. And glutathione is there on the front lines, neutralizing harmful substances, protecting the lining of our gut from damage and inflammation.
So it's like the gatekeeper of our digestive system.
You got it. And as we get older and our glutathione levels go down, our gut health might take a hit, making us more vulnerable to digestive issues.
Right. So we've talked about glutathione as an antioxidant, a detoxifier, a cell cycle regulator, and a gut protector. But one of the research papers went into a pretty complex topic, glutathione and cell death, especially in the context of cancer therapy.
Yeah, cancer cells, they're fascinating, aren't they? They have super high metabolic activity, which leads to increased levels of something called reactive oxygen species, or ROS.
ROS, those are the harmful molecules, right?
Oh, they can be, especially in high amounts. And to deal with all that extra ROS, cancer cells develop a more robust antioxidant defense system.
So they're fighting back against the stress caused by their own rapid growth, basically.
Exactly. And glutathione, well, it plays a key role in their defense strategy. Cancer cells often have higher levels of it to counter the oxidative stress from all those ROS.
So in a way, glutathione is helping the cancer cells survive.
Yeah, you could say that. But this also gives scientists a potential target, for cancer therapy. They found that disrupting the balance of glutathione in cancer cells can actually trigger different types of cell death.
Wow. So manipulating glutathione levels could actually help fight cancer?
That's the idea. And the paper you gave me, it goes into detail about various forms of cell death, things like apoptosis, necroptosis, ferroptosis, and autophagy, and how they're all influenced by messing with glutathione levels.
That's pretty amazing. Understanding glutathione seems absolutely crucial for coming up with, new cancer treatments.
It definitely holds a lot of promise.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the last point from the research. What's new and noteworthy in the world of glutathione research?
Yeah, that phrase really caught my attention. It sounds like we're on the verge of some big breakthroughs.
Absolutely. Researchers are working on more accurate ways to measure glutathione levels, and they're also looking into how it's linked to specific health conditions, particularly those related to aging and the gastrointestinal tract.
It's just incredible how much we've learned about this one little molecule.
And we're just scratching the surface, really. There's so much more to explore.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to go back to something we touched on earlier. We know glutathione's super important and levels decline as we age, but is there anything we can actually do to, encourage our bodies to produce more of it?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll definitely dig into in part 2 of our deep dive. So stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive on glutathione.
Yeah, glad to be back. Last time we left off with a pretty big question. Can we actually do anything to boost those glutathione levels?
Well, it's a question I hear a lot, and the good news is our bodies, they naturally produce it, so we're not totally reliant on external sources, right?
Right. It's made from those 3 amino acids, glutamate, cysteine, and glycine. We talked about those.
Exactly. So one approach is to make sure we're getting enough of those building blocks, so to speak, through our diet.
So what kinds of foods would be good sources of those amino acids?
Well, cysteine is particularly important because it's considered the rate-limiting amino acid for glutathione production, that is. Meaning having enough cysteine is, well, crucial for making enough glutathione.
So cysteine is kind of like the VIP of the glutathione party.
You could say that. Good sources of cysteine, well, you've got your poultry, eggs, dairy products, and then cruciferous veggies like broccoli and Brussels sprouts.
Got it. Load up on those cysteine-rich foods. What else can we do?
Well, another strategy is to focus on foods that support those enzymes involved in glutathione synthesis. Remember those 2 enzymes we talked about? Glutamine-cysteine ligase and glutathione synthetase.
Oh, yeah, the masterminds behind the whole glutathione production process.
Right. Well, certain nutrients can actually help those enzymes work more efficiently, like alpha-lipoic acid, for example. It's found in spinach, broccoli. It's thought to enhance the activity of that glutamate-cysteine ligase.
So eating those veggies is a win-win. You get cysteine and you support the enzyme that needs it. Any other enzyme-boosting nutrients we should know about?
Selenium is another one. It's a trace mineral, and it's essential for the function of glutathione peroxidase. That's another enzyme, and it works with glutathione to neutralize free radicals. You can get selenium from, well, Brazil nuts are a good source, and then seafood, meat, whole grains.
Okay, so we've got our cysteine-rich foods and our enzyme boosters. Anything else we can add to our glutathione toolkit?
There's also some evidence that certain lifestyle factors can impact glutathione levels, like regular exercise, for instance, seems to have a positive effect.
That's good news. I always feel better after a good workout.
Yeah, and on the flip side, chronic stress can actually deplete glutathione.
Ugh, stress. Always the culprit. Another reason to prioritize those stress management techniques, I guess, like meditation or yoga.
Absolutely. And getting enough sleep is important, too.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies do a lot of repair work while we sleep, and that includes producing glutathione.
So taking care of ourselves, basically. Eating right, exercising, managing stress, getting enough sleep. It all helps with healthy glutathione levels.
That's the idea. It's about supporting your body's natural ability to, produce this amazing molecule.
What about supplements? I mean, there's so many glutathione supplements on the market. Do those actually work?
Well, there's some debate about the effectiveness of oral glutathione supplements. Some research suggests that they might not be absorbed all that well, but there are other forms like intravenous or liposomal formulations that might be more readily absorbed. But, it's always a good idea to talk to your doctor before you start any new supplements, especially if you have any underlying health conditions.
That's good advice. It's easy to get caught up in, the hype, but always best to err on the side of caution and check with a healthcare professional. Supplements, they should be seen as a complement to a healthy lifestyle, not a replacement.
I agree. Now, switching gears a bit, let's talk about those targeted therapies you mentioned, the ones focused on manipulating glutathione levels to treat, diseases like cancer.
Yeah, let's dive into that. We talked about how cancer cells often have those elevated glutathione levels, which makes them more resistant to, traditional cancer treatments.
Right, it's like a shield,
Yeah.
protecting them from the effects of chemo or radiation.
So scientists are looking for ways to lower glutathione, but specifically in cancer cells to make them more, um, susceptible to those treatments.
Exactly. One way they're doing that is by using drugs that inhibit the enzymes involved in glutathione synthesis.
Oh, so blocking the enzymes that are essential for making glutathione in the first place.
Yes, and by disrupting glutathione production in the cancer cells, we can hopefully make them more vulnerable to those cancer therapies.
Are there any specific drugs that they're looking at for this?
Several, actually. One example is methionine sulfoxamine, or BSO. It specifically inhibits glutamate cysteine ligase, that key enzyme we've been talking about.
BSO, got it. Are there any challenges or, risks that go along with this approach?
Well, one of the challenges is making sure that these drugs target glutathione production specifically in the cancer cells and not, healthy cells. So researchers are working on developing more targeted therapies, which would hopefully minimize the potential side effects.
It's good to know. It sounds like the future of cancer treatment could be, really shaped by our understanding of glutathione.
I think so. And it's not just cancer. Researchers are also looking at how we can manipulate glutathione levels to treat other conditions like neurodegenerative diseases, heart disease, even HIV.
Wow. Glutathione research really seems to be opening up a lot of new doors for medical advancements. It really highlights how everything's connected, one tiny molecule, and it can have such a huge impact.
It's true. And speaking of connections, one of the sources we looked at really focused on glutathione in the gastrointestinal tract.
Yeah, we touched on that a bit earlier, but it's definitely worth a closer look. You mentioned the highest concentration of glutathione is found in the duodenum. Why is that?
Well, the duodenum, remember, that's where most of our digestion and absorption takes place. And it's constantly being hit with, this mix of nutrients and toxins and all sorts of other substances from the food we eat.
So it's a pretty busy place.
It is. And glutathione is there working hard as a defender, protecting the delicate lining of the duodenum from damage. It neutralizes those harmful substances, reduces inflammation, and it helps maintain that gut barrier, keep it strong.
And that gut barrier, that's so important for overall health.
Absolutely. It's our first line of defense against, pathogens, invaders, and a healthy gut barrier is crucial for proper nutrient absorption and even immune function.
So glutathione's kind of like a superhero for our gut health. And a decline in glutathione, that could make us more prone to gut issues as we age.
It's a definite possibility.
Yeah.
And it all ties back to, the importance of supporting those glutathione levels throughout life.
We've covered so much in this deep dive, what glutathione is, where it comes from, what it does, how it's linked to, aging and various diseases, and how scientists are figuring out ways to manipulate it for therapeutic purposes. It really is a fascinating molecule.
I agree. It shows just how complex the human body really is.
Before we wrap up this part, I'm curious about something. We've talked a lot about the science of glutathione, but what about the ethical side of things, especially when we talk about manipulating glutathione levels for medical treatments? Are there any potential downsides or unintended consequences we should be thinking about?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll definitely explore in the final part of our deep dive. So see you soon.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of glutathione today.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, hasn't it? We've covered a lot.
We have. Last time we left off talking about the ethical considerations around manipulating glutathione levels for those medical treatments. And, it's one thing to understand the science, but it's another to really think about what it means to use that knowledge,
Absolutely. Like any powerful tool we have to, think about the possibility of misuse or unintended consequences.
Exactly. And we've learned how important glutathione is for our cells and how researchers are looking into its potential for treating diseases like cancer. But where do we draw the line? What ethical issues pop up when we start, messing with this molecule?
Well, I think one of the most important things is informed consent. Patients need to fully understand the potential risks and benefits of any treatment that involves, changing those glutathione levels.
That makes sense, especially since this is, a fairly new area of research. We don't have all the long-term data yet to really understand all the implications.
Right. And we also need to be careful about off-target effects. Glutathione, it's involved in so many cellular processes that if we try to, manipulate its levels in one area, it could have unintended consequences in other parts of the body.
So it's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
Tweaking glutathione in one place could, create a ripple throughout the whole body.
Exactly. And this is especially important when we're talking about those therapies that try to deplete glutathione in cancer cells.
Because we don't want to end up, harming healthy cells in the process, right?
All right. That's why, researchers are working on those highly targeted therapies to minimize those risks.
That's good to hear. Are there other ethical considerations we should be keeping in mind?
Oh, absolutely. Access and equity are really important here. Any new treatments that come out, they need to be available to, everyone who needs them, regardless of their economic status or where they live.
That's a really important point. We can't let scientific progress make those existing inequalities even worse.
I agree. It's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
between pushing the boundaries of science and making sure that those advancements benefit everyone fairly.
This deep dive has really shown just how complex glutathione research is. It's not just about the science itself, but also the ethical aspects, the impact on society, and what it all means for human health and well-being.
It's been a valuable exploration. The more we dig into the world of glutathione, the more we realize how many sides it has. It's a molecule with a lot of potential, but it also needs our respect and careful consideration.
I couldn't agree more. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with a sense of wonder and a desire to learn even more. Glutathione is definitely a molecule worth watching, I think.
And as the research continues, I'm sure we'll find even more amazing things about this tiny but mighty molecule. Who knows what the future holds for glutathione research?
Well, that's all the time we have for today. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of glutathione. We encourage you to, keep exploring this topic and think about the questions it raises about our health, our bodies, and the ethical side of scientific advancements. Until next time, stay curious, stay